2020. The year is almost over. I am rocking my PJs. I have been wearing my pajamas all day. I was saying it was pretty funny because I don't sleep in these pajamas because I'm in Florida. But I got up this morning and it was chilly, so I put on my pajamas to spend the whole day in them. But these are the Jolly jean pajamas that I taught the online class on. If you have made your pajamas too, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you're tuning in and you can see me and hear me fine, let me know where you're tuning in from. So I live in North Central Florida and I'm in my home studio right now. Hopefully the mic and everything is working. I see we have a bunch of us here already tuned in on YouTube. Welcome, friends. Diane says aloha from Hawaii. Awesome. We got Tony tuning in from San Diego. Tamara from Southern California as well. We got people from Georgia. Mary tuning in from Maryland. Diana tuning in from Vegas. All right, so I'm going to pop onto the Facebook page. You can be watching us live either on Facebook or on YouTube. And for those of you that are new, welcome. If you like what you see and you like the demos and what I chat about, we'll go over the Flash Sale Friday bundle that we have for sale tonight. We're almost sold out, I think. Last I checked, we had like 20 or so left. And you can always shop with us at craftygemini.com/shop. Whatever the item is for the flash sale, it's usually going to be the first item posted right there on the all products page, the main page of the shop. Okay, let me pop in here. Awesome. Hi, Kay, tuning in from Jacksonville, Florida. That's a neighbor, pretty much, right? Annette from San Francisco. We got Tracy tuning in from Mississippi. Anna from Miami, my hometown. What's up? 305. Okay, so that looks good. Everybody looks like they can see me and hear me. Hey, Stephanie from Arkansas tuning in. So let's go ahead and let me put this over here and get started. So tonight's Flash Sale Friday bundle, let me grab one from here. It's like this, 1.5 pounds of quilting goodies. You get a little autographed thank you card as usual, a little Crafty Gemini sticker, and then let me pull all these fabric cuts out of here. These are all Timeless Treasures fabrics, so you know it's quality quilting cottons, and you get 5 half-yard cuts. So the picture, let me see if I can actually show it. Yeah, I think you can see it. And I'll show you when I start the demo. These, we have a pale green, then a darker green, and it has like florals and little flourishes and stuff, and that part of it has like silvery metallic. And I was playing around with it because I was making a couple of the stockings that we'll get into in a minute because I'm going to be doing a demo of the little stocking. Now, if you get a bundle, you get the 5 half-yard cuts in these different colors. So the darker green, the lighter green with the same silvery flourish floral. You get this cool like dark red colors. There's a couple different reds in there. But again, it's the same design basically in 3 different colorways with the silvery flourishes on top. And then this white with cream and silver that goes with it. So these are all coordinating prints. They're obviously from the same collection. And we know Timeless Treasures has great quality fabrics, okay, quilting cottons. So half-yard of each. So right here with these 4, you get 2 yards of quilting cottons. And then the 5th one can be one of 2 different prints. And I'll grab one from a different kit here so I can share with you all what it is. And I'll get B to put up the close-up images because they're so cute and so little. So go ahead and show one of them. And then I will talk about, okay, so that one is, I think you can see that they're like little birds that have Santa hats on them. And it just looks like cold, wintry kind of background. There's whites and blues and little hearts all throughout. I think it's super cute. So you get a half-yard of that or a half-yard of the other one. So we'll put the other one up. So we didn't have enough to put one of each. So some of you will get the birdies with the Santa hats and some of you will get these adorable little bunnies. It looks like there's like little snowflakes and like little blue sparkles on the white background. But then every bunny has like a different colored scarf on them. Yellow, red and white stripe, blue and white stripe. They're super cute. So yeah, so you'll either get the bunny in winter or the little birds. I see that now a couple of the birds have different colored bellies on them. So one or one, okay? But then the other 4 half-yard cuts will be the same for everybody. Then aside from that's 2.5 yards total of fabric, okay? And you can use them for everything. They don't have to be Christmassy print, but they can also play as tonals if you use them for other projects. If you don't celebrate Christmas or you don't need Christmas fabrics right now, they're just great blenders, you know, to have in your stash. And half-yard cuts is chunky, right? We can make a lot of stuff with that. So like table runners, wall hangings, if you need a cool background for something, if you're making the oven mitts that I have tutorials for, I know that's a popular project this time of year. You also get 1 full pack of this Bosal Light Fusible batting. This piece measures 45 inches by 36 inches. So it's a yard by 45 inches wide. There's a lot in there. And I'll show you with the piece that I'm going to be demoing as I make the next stocking, so you can see how big it is and what I have left after I've already made one of the stockings, okay? And then I threw in some cool, or I should say a cool little bag that says Maker's Gonna Make. How cute is that on both sides? And it's a reusable bag, nice and wide, holds a lot with the handles on it. This would make a cute gift to gift to somebody if you order this bundle, if you don't want it for yourself, but also for yourself, because like if you sew or do anything, how would you not like this, right? Now in the letters, you probably can't see it, but the font is white. But inside the white letters, there's like a safety pin, a button, a different type of button, a spool of thread, a little spool of like DMC embroidery floss. There's a measuring tape. There's another wooden spool of thread, scissors. It has like all the different little notions and stuff for sewing. So super cute. And of course, we don't have any more of these to go around. I think we may have a few like to do as giveaways in the future. But if you get this bundle, you get the bag, the batting piece, and the 2.5 yards of fabric. And then, because I wanted to give you all some ideas on what to use the fabrics for and the fusible batting, and as I use it in tonight's demo, you can kind of see how it reacts and then make up your mind on what you might use it for if you're getting the bundle. I'll just put this stuff back in here. All right, so a chunky bundle full of quilty goodies. Now, I went ahead and included a PDF download for this stocking that I created. If you purchase the bundle tonight, you will have access to it. It's connected to your account, like to that purchase order. It's a PDF. It's 4 pages, all right? And you're just going to stick them together. Now, I will say, I just added this on as a free bonus, as a freebie. I will have this up in my PDF downloads for anybody to download for free. It's not done yet, but if you're getting a bundle, it's already there for you. So if you wanted to make one tonight with other stash fabric, you could. None of my graphic designers were available, so I had to make this myself using online programs. So it's a little rough around the edges, and the tiling is not super perfect. But when you print out the 4 pages, you'll see where the black lines need to connect, and then you can either glue them or tape them or do whatever. But just remember to match up the black lines. You also will want to print it out at 100%. And I did put in a little 1-inch square so that if you set your printer settings to 100%, it won't be skewing the dimensions of the template, and you'll print it out correctly to size. Now this might look big, and it does yield you kind of a big stocking, but I think it's a great little size, okay? So we're going to make one like this, same fabric on both sides, not really custom or patchwork or anything, but just because I'm going to do a demo and it's kind of the quickest way for me to make one up and walk you through the steps. All right, so what else did I want to talk about? Let me pop in here, see if I have any questions. Oh my goodness, so much going on in the chat, y'all. Hi, Dawn, tuning in from Tampa. Rebecca says she always needs bags to carry her stuff. That Maker's Gonna Make tote is awesome, for sure. And let's see. Janet says the birds with the Santa hats are so cute. They are. Either one of those prints, the bunnies or the birds. Yeah, that would be super cute for whatever you decide to make it. I use them in these ones for the lining because it's light. And it's just a habit, I think, from making handbags. I always put a light fabric lining on the inside because that way you can see even when it's pretty dark. You know, if you use dark fabric, sometimes if you're reaching into a purse, everything is like a black hole. You can't find anything. So that's a bag making tip. Use a light colored lining to help you see stuff in there. All right. Hi, Lisa from Virginia Beach. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have my template piece. Remember I said it's 4 pages. The overlap is not like a regular PDF that like one of my graphic designers would do. It's like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch in some parts, but just overlap them. And you know, if your template is off by like 1/8 of an inch, it's not really going to make a difference for this. It's not like we're making a garment or anything. And I think it's wide enough and long enough that you can get away with a little bit, whether it's in the template being off or in your seam allowances being a little bit off. No big deal. All right, so that's the template, and I went ahead and cut out the following fabric pieces. So let's go ahead and switch to the over, right here, the over my shoulder shot. Let me move this out the way. Okay, so here are my fabric pieses. Ooh, picture in picture. If you love the picture in picture, let us know in the comments. I always have fun when I see my face pop up. Okay, so I went ahead and cut out 2 stocking template pieces from the PDF of the exterior fabric. And very, very important. Do you see how these are mirror image of each other? You cannot cut, say you have two fat quarters or something. Do not put the fabric pieces like one on top of the other if you're wanting to cut through two layers. Don't put them on top of each other with both pretty side face up. You either want to fold the fabric onto itself so that you're going to cut out the mirror images. So it can be pretty sides to pretty sides folded or wrong sides to wrong sides folded. But they need to be same side touching so that when you cut out the template, you get these mirror image pieces. So like this. Put the fabric pretty to pretty and then cut around it. Very important because I find that people do that all the time. Like they'll cut out, say out of two fat quarters and they'll cut one template and then they get the other fat quarter again with the pretty side facing up and they cut it and it's like they're both facing the same way. No good. All right. So then I cut the same thing out of the lining. Again, mirror image. All right. So we have two exterior, two lining. And then I cut out, well, no, I didn't. I haven't cut it out because I said that would be good to cut on camera. So here is the light fusible batting that you'll be getting if you got one of the bundles from tonight. This is a whole piece. It's 36 inches this way and then 45 inches the other way. And all I've done from this one is cut out the piece, two pieces to make the sample stocking that I just showed you that I made. So this is the sample stocking and the rest is what I have left. So I'm going to grab my two exterior fabric pieces, and this is what I like to do. I just take the pieces themselves after I've cut the fabric to size or whatever shape it is. I'll place it on top of the batting and cut around it. So I use this as my template, okay? Let's see what side we can go on. Let me cut one from here. Try to eke this one out of this corner without wasting too much of my batting. Place some pattern Tetris here. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, that's not a bad little piece. And I don't even have to cut along this side here because I placed it right on the edge of the fusible batting. And then because this is on the adhesive side, it like holds it. So I don't even need to put pins or put weights. And then I know not everybody wants to swing past things with a rotary cutter like I do, but you can put pins or you can take a fabric safe marking pen or pencil, whatever, chalk even, and just mark around it, then remove the fabric, and then you can cut with scissors. That'll work fine too. But y'all know me with my rotary cutters. Let me clean up this toe curve a little bit. If you are freehanding, just keep your other hand away. Okay, so that's one. And notice what I did. I placed the fabric directly on the fusible side. So once I'm done cutting, I don't have to be taking a piece off and flipping it or doing anything. It's literally ready for me to fuse just like this. And to tell the difference from the wrong side or just the fuzzy side to the adhesive side, it's scratchier, right? Because this side has tiny dots of adhesive. And this is one thing that I wanted to note is that of all the fusible battings, and there's all kinds of stuff out there, you know, they come in different weights. So oftentimes it's hard to even pick an interfacing online because you can't feel it, right? You don't know how it's going to react in your project. So this is another reason why I wanted to cut the fabric live on camera with y'all to show you. This is a lightweight fusible batting, okay? If you make wall hangings, table runners, and maybe you do hand quilting or you do machine quilting, but your machine can't handle a ton of bulk and you want something that you can fuse and then go through and maybe do some decorative stitching on it, look at this. I mean, it's pretty sheer. It's the perfect weight for that kind of a lightweight project, right? That doesn't require a ton of quilting. You can quilt through it after if you want to. And so I thought, well, this would be great. And because you get a big chunk, right? 45 inches by 36. Let's see how I want to do this piece. I'm going to sneak this little piece in here. That's one. We'll just have to go this way. Okay. So I'm going to cut a second one. So you only need two pieces of the fusible batting. Now you could also use, I don't know if this question's coming up here, you can use regular batting and baste it, whether it's spray basted or hand baste it. You can put like regular batting that's not fusible and then just quilt some lines through it to hold it together. What else? Let's see. Oh, everybody likes the picture in picture. All right. I love the picture in picture, y'all. I love the camera. Okay. Oh, Rebecca says you look so pretty tonight. Thank you. Okay, I'm just checking real quick. Sometimes your comments or your questions help trigger something that then I can talk about while I continue to work. And since I'm kind of flying through, I will just keep an eye out. Okay, B, you're in charge. If there's any questions that pop up while I'm head down here working, just let me know. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, I am working on a stocking. A simple one, right? This is a free PDF download. I'll have it up on the website probably by tomorrow. But if you got the flash sale bundle tonight, it's already linked. Once you purchase it and you got the emailed receipt, you'll see the PDF link right there for you to download. I have to put it up for everybody else and go through the whole process so you can actually get it. It's just like a freebie download, no big deal. But it's just a simple boom, boom. It's great to have a template like this though, because you can do like scrappy patchwork pieces. You can do like quilt as you go. You know, you can play around with it. All you really need is the shape. And I actually have a video tutorial on how to make a stocking that is, wow, 10 years old. I was watching it today, B, and it was like my hands are here and the camera's jiggling. And that's one of those that was one of those videos where I had a point and shoot camera and I would tuck it into my sports bra and tilt it forward so that you could see the angle of my hands. Okay, now we have tripods and fancy cameras. I don't have to do that anymore. But back then, the struggle was real. So anyways, that's why if you watch my Christmas stocking video from 2010, you'll see everything jiggling. I see the part of me like grabbing a little mini iron. I'm like, and then go ahead and just press it. And I'm trying not to like swing back and forth my arms because the whole camera was right here and it was jiggling. Yeah. The things I had to do because I was like, I have to give them the point of view of the maker. I don't like to show just like this. You know what I mean? Like in reverse, like we oftentimes see shows on TV. Because when you're doing something that's so directional, I feel like you have to see it from my point of view. So you know, I'm a little resourceful, so I just did what I had to do. But when I was watching it today, I was like, oh, I know why that camera was jiggling. Okay, so fusible batting. So now I've cut out pieces for 2 stockings in this same size, and look how much I still have left. You can still get another one out of here. And now think about if you made a smaller stocking, you could probably squeeze even another one out of there, okay? So just so you know how big that piece of the package that you're getting. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our iron and my little ironing mat so I can fuse this. Now, if you look at the directions on the back of this light fusible batting package, it tells you, and most manufacturers will do this where they tell you like, use a damp cloth and press over top of it till it dries and blah, blah, blah. This batting, whoops, and there went my brand new phone. Ooh, hold on. Luckily, has a great case. Okay, good. This batting, because it's a light fusible batting, it fuses super easily. So I just have a regular hot, dry iron. Sometimes I will take like my spray bottle and mist this with a little bit of water, and that way it creates the moisture and then the heat of the iron will help fuse. But I've already used this batting several times before. Just make sure, yeah, I did put the fabric on the adhesive side. So just make sure of that, right? That you don't have the adhesive side here because then you're going to glue this whole thing to your ironing board. Make sure my iron kicked on. And I'm just going to go little by little and fuse this in place to the exterior fabric pieces. The lining doesn't need anything. It's going to be inside. And because it's so flat, being a stocking, you don't really need to add like a fashion fuse or anything to the lining pieces. You know, save that interfacing for a fancier project that you need it for. This is not going to get that much wear and tear on the inside. But if you do feel like you need a little bit more stability on the interior, especially on those lining pieces, you can also just starch it, right? I mean, how often are you going to wash a stocking? So that's another option. So I'm going to set that there, and I'll continue here with the next one. Just making sure everything is matched up good. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what the status is of the bundle so I can update those of our viewers that maybe are just tuning in. I'm working on a stocking demo here, just sharing some tips and tricks and talking about fabric and products. Oh, talking about fabric. These fabrics that you're getting here, if you're getting tonight's flash sale bundle, remember I said it's Timeless Treasures quilting cotton fabrics, great quality stuff. Now, all of the floral prints that you're getting, the 4 in the different colors, that darker red, the darker green, the light green, and the white one, all have this silvery metallic kind of, and it's not like a heavy. Like if you think sometimes if somebody were to tell me like a metallic-y fabric, I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of those, but it's not like those chunky ones that you see sometimes at like the fabrics you get at Joann's. This is in very good taste, okay? But oftentimes those fabrics with a lot of that metallic on the fabric print, when you hit it with a hot iron, that stuff just like burns off right onto your iron. And I have pressed this with this at the highest setting, and I have not had that on any of the prints. Okay, so it looks like we have 6 kits left, y'all. Once we're sold out of them, that's it. Remember, if you're tuning in today for the first time for a flash sale Friday, you can always shop with us at craftygemini.com/shop, and the flash sale will be dated there. It'll show you everything you get in the bundle, how much it is. Remember that our flash sales are always free shipping in the US. So that's another thing. And you know how expensive shipping is. This packet, this bundle that you're getting with tonight's flash sale weighs 1.5 pounds. Okay, so just think about the savings that you're getting off the retail price, plus the shipping is already included with the free shipping offer in the US. And I'll show you the bag. So we talked about the batting, we talked about the fabric that you get, and then the super cute Maker's Gonna Make tote bag. Look how cute. When you open it up on the gusset is all the same notions. So the scissors, thread, measuring tape, and all that. What a cute little bag. So if you're making a gift for another crafty friend, you can even use this as the gift bag if you're willing to part with it. I would keep it because it's reusable and it's super cute. All right. So a little bit more down here. So yeah, I was saying about the metallic on this fabric. It doesn't come off with the heat of the iron. So you know this is really some good stuff. And it's not that shiny. Like you have to be up close to be like, oh yeah, there's a little something. So I think it's super cute. All right, let me get rid of my ironing board. Hi, Maria, tuning in from Georgia. Liz says, let's see, don't forget to like the video. Oh, that's Heather. Hey, Heather. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling everybody, give it a thumbs up. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and click the share button so that some other of your crafty friends who maybe are on Facebook tonight will tune in, because I'm about to get started sewing this stocking together. All right, so now let's have a look. We have our 2 exterior pieces. Remember, number 1 key for stockings. They have to be cut out mirror image, both exterior and lining pieces. All right, so now we're gonna put these guys together. I'm gonna take the lining pieces, one on top of the other with pretty sides touching, like that. And then you can put pins or clips, whatever you wanna use. Y'all know me, I don't even really pin. I wouldn't, for this, the fabric is so, thin. It's just a very simple shape. I probably wouldn't even pin. But for this demo, I am, so that I can show you a couple things. One is the opening that we need to leave, because once we sew the exterior to the lining, we got to have some opening to flip this whole thing out. So let me grab my fabric marking pen here, or marker, whatever. And what I like to do is to leave the opening on this tall, like on a straight edge of the project. So in this case, it could either be here, it could be here. Because this is the back, I just always tend to go here. So I'm going to mark something here, and let's just go down here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5-inch opening is what I'm leaving. All right. It doesn't have to be like a huge piece, because the batting, remember I said, is nice and thin, so you'll be able to pull it out when you're done at the end through something like 4 or 5 inches is fine. Okay, so I'm just going to put a couple more pins around here, so just to make sure nothing moves on me too drastically as I bring this over to the machine. And we're going to do both at the same time, so one right after the other, not at the same time, I should say. Let's move this. Okay, let's see. Jean says she would keep the tote. Smart girl. All right. Laurie's asking, how do you like the new sewing machine, and what size bobbin do you use with it? So I'm assuming you mean the Juki LB5020. We still have some in stock on our website. We went ahead and restocked it. So if you're looking for a machine for yourself, a little travel machine, maybe you start off with like a $70 machine and you're ready to upgrade, this would be it. Super legit. And we offer free shipping on the machines in the US. And what else did she ask? This, and I'll talk a little bit about the machine now once I, oh, the size bobbin. So this machine takes class 15, what is it? L bob? What? 15. Yeah, class 15. I'm getting confused because I just ordered some new bobbins for my other Juki, which is the Juki NX7, and that one takes class 15J bobbins, which are slightly different from class 15. So this one takes class 15 bobbins, and we had some for sale on the site. We sold out last week, and we're working on restocking them because I'm expecting an order this weekend. Okay, for those class 15 bobbins. All right, so I'm gonna grab these two, do the same thing I did. And then when I start introducing batting and I get like chunkier pieces going on here, that's when I like to just use clips because it's easier. Whereas when it's just fabric like in the lining, I feel like the clip is just so heavy. You see how it just like hangs it down? It's just too heavy for the fabric. So I'll use pins if I am going to use some like that. And then on the exterior pieces with the fusible batting, you don't need to leave an opening at all. So you're going to sew from here all the way around to here. Obviously, the part that we do want to leave open is the actual top of the stocking, right? Because if you sew up there, you're not going to be able to put nothing in it. Okay, so we have our two pieces. We're going to start sewing. So let me bring my sewing machine into the camera. And y'all, I don't know if you tuned in for my Whip Wednesday or Flash Sale Fridays. I was telling y'all these my mats are all tore up because we cut fabric here for kits and bundles. Guess what? My new mats came today. So next time you see me, I won't have these messy little mats. I didn't have time today to swap them out, but I will. I will soon. Let me, okay, that's a good enough shot, I think, for the sewing machine. Carla says this looks like a quick and fun project. It is, especially if you're going to start cranking them out like assembly line style. I'm just making a dark green one for my kid and one light green one for the other kid. One each and call it a day. You know, a different year I'll go all out and do the whole customize and all that kind of stuff. But this year, because it's the new house, I thought, well, I need some stockings. The little ones, I used to make them when they were babies, are all, who knows where they are, in storage. Okay, it looks like I just got a notification. We only have one kit left in stock, and chances are one of you probably has it in your cart. And so thank you to everybody who basically sold us out tonight on these flash sales. They are already bundled. I had one of our team members here this morning folding fabric cuts and bundling them all up, so we will get them out to you as soon as possible, just in case you're trying to work on a project like this too. All right, so let me move my needle position. You know what? I'm just going to do 3/8 of an inch. So we're just going to leave the needle position in the center. But I am going to, leave that default. And then the length, I am going to lengthen it, though, to, what should I lengthen it to? Let's do like 2.8. A little bit longer, right? Just because it's bulkier. And I don't have like a walking foot or anything on this machine. But we already know that it works fine. All right, so I'm going to start here. And I'm going to backstitch. And just stitch all the way down and around. It's such a quick, I mean, this project. And after I sew up the two, you know, the exterior and the lining pieces, I'm going to go ahead and prep the little loop too. So I'll show you how I do that before we can sew the two sections together. And now I'm kind of flying here because I have the setting, like the speed all the way as it can go on this machine. It doesn't go that fast. Y'all know that I like to use my machine that's like 1,500 stitches per minute. So just, if you're not used to sewing curves, you'll need to go slower than this for sure. Because the key thing is to maintain that seam allowance all the way throughout, even as you're turning the curve. So if you notice my hand, I literally am just like, I put it like this, and I just like turn my hand like that. And stop every little bit just to make sure everything is on point. Ooh, I'll have to press this a little bit more. I see I didn't fuse it too good. So if we use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on the exterior, quick pop quiz for y'all. What seam allowance would I use for the lining pieces if I don't want to have a baggy lining? Dun, 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 dun. Let's see who of my bag making students out there is going to give me the best guess. I'm over here giving pop quizzes on live TV. Let's see. Ooh, it's raining, huh? I hear the rain coming down. All right. So 3/8 of an inch on the exterior. What would I use, y'all, for the lining? What's the question? What is it? Yeah, I said I was using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So, hold on before I start. Okay, let's see. So we got Debbie is saying 5/8 of an inch. I like the way you're thinking, Debbie. Susan, Carla, Margie, Robgra, Marilyn, a bunch of y'all. Christina is saying 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so if you're noticing the trend there, maybe you're like, what are these people saying, or how are they even making this guess? If I use 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 is smaller than 1/2 of an inch, okay? So the idea is that whatever is going in on the lining, we want to use a slightly bigger seam allowance so we eat up more fabric on the lining and it's not quite as baggy on the inside. However, those of you that are saying 1/2 of an inch, Half of an inch is only 1/8 of an inch bigger than 3/8 of an inch. And that's not going to make it'll be better, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. So the 5/8, I like that. A lot of you are saying half of an inch. Christina says, or 5/8. So yes, 5/8. Wendy says 5/8 inch seam allowance for the lining if the exterior is 3/8. So 5/8 is going to be better. And that is what I'm going to do. I don't know why I started stitching. So I'm going to use the little plate that I have here. And if you use the same seam allowance, it's not the end of the world either. If you go a little bigger to half an inch, it'll work fine. But because it's such a tight space, the closer the interior lining pieces are to the exterior, the more baggy it's going to be, right? Because on the outside, it's spread out, whereas on the inside, it's crammed inside, so it's going to be even smaller, even if they were, or excuse me, it'll be more fabric being crammed into the interior of those outer pieces. So you want to go with a bigger seam allowance. However, here's a trick. I know why I started. Because I tend to use the same seam allowance at the beginning. Because when I'm going to slip the two pieces inside, one of the other, the lining and the exterior pieces, I want them to match up at those top intersections. So here's the game. I'm going to start with 3/8 of an inch for the first inch. That's it. Now, my 5/8 inch mark is a little bit further over than where the edge of the presser foot is, which is the 3/8. So I want 5/8. So now, after I did the regular seam allowance, you see how I'm going to like pull this over so that I can now stitch a slightly bigger seam allowance. And that's how you do it. Because if you started off with the bigger seam allowance up top, when you try to match those side seam intersections, it won't reach because the seam allowance at that top edge is bigger. Okay, so I'm coming up on my blue line here, so I'm going to go to the line and then backstitch to secure that. Then that's my line telling me, hey, don't stitch there because we got to leave an opening. So let me see if y'all can see that. So I started off, you probably can't. I want to just show you this though. So let me just bear with me here because this is a very helpful tip. Do you see that? I started off at 3/8 of an inch and then I started veering off bigger to a 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to leave this opening open and then I'm going to continue down here at 5/8 of an inch. Where I want it to match the exterior is up here because these side seam intersections need to match the exterior when we sew the two together. All right, so there's a visual for you. 3/8 and then slightly just whoop, go bigger to 5/8. Okay. So even with the gray thread, I think that was a good enough visual that you can see what I was trying to do. So now I'm picking up at the bottom of the other line. So I left the space in between those two blue lines open. And let's go here, 5/8. All right. So you see how I'm kind of turning my hand this way to guide it around the curves? And there's no need to go like what I'm doing to just like fly past the curve. You can do little bits by little bits. Just try to keep a fluid motion on the curve, otherwise it's going to be like choppy. Which, I mean, it won't matter too much on the lining piece. But on the exterior one, you do want the curved areas to have a nice, clean, curved finish to it, to the seam. It's so weird. If you're a quilter, whenever you work on a project that has like a really chunky seam allowance, like 5/8 of an inch, doesn't it feel weird? Like it just feels like something is wrong. It's like, why am I using up so much fabric on this seam? And it's funny because I've been sewing a lot of stretch knit fabrics like the pajamas and stuff, and those are all 1/4 inch seams too. So when I go a while without using like a 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch, I'm always like, I'm doing something wrong. But I'm not. I'm following the 5/8 inch guide. It's like you get used to seeing that little bitty scant 1/4 inch. All right, so I'm coming up to the end and I'll just hit it with a back stitch up top. Okay. Maureen says, you always have such great tips. Thank you. You know what's funny is that when I talk and I teach, I never even think about tips until we're trying to like market things for classes, you know, and it's like, oh, but they don't just get the lessons. They also get tips and tricks. And to me, teaching without tips and tricks is not even teaching. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so used to it. And that's why I like teaching in person, teaching live like this, because you get great questions. And then off of one question, it triggers something else that I want to talk about, or another scenario, or somebody's having a problem with something on their machine that, like, if we wouldn't have had them there with that machine, we wouldn't have thought to think about it. So all that kind of stuff. As a teacher, I live for that kind of stuff. And we're sold out. So it looks like the last person that had it in their cart, tonight's bundle is now sold out. So thank you to everybody who got one. I'm excited to see what y'all make with this fabric, because it's pretty much a blank canvas. These are great tonal prints that you can use for anything. And the fusible batting, again, you can use it for lightweight bags. Amazing for that. Table runners, mini quilts, wall hangings. I mean, all that kind of stuff. All right, so you can see how the seam allowance on this one is bigger than that. Let's go ahead and trim this down. Now, normally I would tell you, like on these convex and concave areas, to cut notches and stuff in. You can. If you have pinking shears, you can do that. I'm just going to trim this away. So I'm just going to grade the seam allowance narrower. And as I cut the seam allowance away, notice that in the area between my two markings, I have not trimmed away anything. We're going to need this fabric to tuck it under so that we can close the opening once everything is all done. But here you can, you know, trim away on either side of the opening. And then here, if you have a blade that's like a pinking blade for your rotary cutter, that would be cool to use here too. I also find that if I just shave this down to like a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, it'll be fine. Now, I'm doing this obviously because I'm very comfortable with the rotary cutter, but if you're not, you know, just use scissors. I got a super chat. Oh, Miss Veronica, thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, how cute it says #1 fan. I love it. Thank you so much. All right, so what I will do is give a couple quick snips here in this area. If you don't, then when you turn it out, you'll see like a little pinch there. Have y'all ever sewn something like that that's like a curvy spot and you flip the whole thing out and then, where are my scissors? Goodness, here they are. And then you flip it out and it's like doesn't want to lie flat along the curve. So here, you can cut notches like this, like little triangles. Y'all know I'd be in a hurry, so I don't have time for all that. So as long as I cut some slits in here, you don't want to cut your stitches, but I'm just cutting up to the stitch line. Just like right in the deepest part of that curve. That helps to kind of loosen it up a little. And then I'll be more easily able to push it out with my finger once, you know, this whole thing is done. This is a little bit chunky here, so I'll trim that. All right. So that'll be fine for that. And then this one, I'm just going to give it a quick look around because remember we used 3/8 of an inch on the exterior of the stocking. So it's pretty slim all the way around. I don't really need to cut too much. So on this one, do the same thing. And this, because it's bulkier, I have yet to come across a pair of pinking shears that will let me hit bulky batting like this without shredding it apart. So just make sure that you at least have some sharp scissors or snips that you can do this with. And I'll do it on this one just because it has the added layers of the fusible fleece. And I don't want too much bulk in that spot. Just my iron. Dinging. Okay. Yes, go for it. My rotary cutter is an Olfa brand. Now this is the one that I recommend because I've hosted a lot of retreats over the years and taught in-person classes. This is like their ergonomic handle. I love it because a lot of times if you have the ones that look like, I don't even have it here. I'm pretty much got rid of all those. Oh, I think I have one down here. I have like a whole basket full of old rotary cutters. Okay. Wow, this is even rusted. But yes, this is obviously an old rotary cutter. I need to change the blade. These ones used to be my favorites. You have to press it in and down, okay? In and down to expose the blade. And then you press it in and up to bring up the safety. Now, I got so used to this that I would just like, before I even set it down, I would close it. But I noticed that a lot of people, because they either live by themselves or you don't have little kids and pets messing around in your sewing room, and they at home felt comfortable just leaving it like that. Then when you get into a room of like 20 other people that are quilting, this is no good. right? Because people can hit it, somebody can swipe it, it can fall on your foot and cut you. And so early on, we changed over to these ergonomic ones. And so you have to press down on the handle in order to cut. And when you let it go, like if you have to set it down once you're done cutting your fabric, it closes itself back up. So these are my favorites. Okay, and they're left-handed or right-handed. You see this back part that has like an indentation here? You can just unscrew this and just move the blade to this side and screw it in, and then you can just use it left-handed. So whatever side the blade is on, so they can be used for both, left or right-hand dominant. Okay, what was the other question? A super chat is like when somebody offers like a little money to be popped up on this fancy little thing with color, and YouTube brings you to the top of the chat saying like, I support you, love your channel, love what you're doing. And you know, it's like a pledge, like they're pledging whatever they want to pledge, and it gives you like a little boost so that you pop up on the super chat. It's cool. Thank you. All right. Okay. So we have our two pieces. Those two have been sewn, exterior and lining. Now let's go ahead and work on the little loop-de-loop here. So I have a piece of fabric. Let me just grab my ironing board again. A little strip of fabric. It can be contrasting fabric. I'm using some of the same exterior because I'm going to keep it the same as this one. It's just a slighter, lighter shade of green so that it matches. So it's 2 inches by 7 inches, I believe is what I cut. So I'm going to flip it pretty side face down. You're going to do this kind of like a double fold binding strip. So I'm going to fold it in half lengthwise. Open it up, and then I'm going to bring the outer edges into the center fold line. And press here. And do the same thing to the opposite side. And then we'll just fold the whole thing together down the middle and top stitch it. So you're just making like a little strip. If you've ever made like one of my little wristlet pouches or anything like that, this is usually the same technique. So now we fold it all up so that we encase those raw edges. Looks super cute, and it's thin. If you wanted yours to be thicker, then just go wider with the initial strip that you begin with, okay? Let me not burn myself. So I'm going to run this through the sewing machine and just top stitch about 1/8 of an inch in from both edges. You could just do it on the one edge that has, where it's opening up at. I kind of like to do the two. Whoops. I kind of like to do the two so it balances out. Okay. So we're here. Let me run this through here. See if I can see. Whoop, don't get caught. There we go. It's on fabric. Okay. It's hard for me to see. I'm literally like all the way up here to line it up. I suggest you're closer than how I am if you're trying to sew 1/8 of an inch away from anything. But that's all right because I'm using gray thread, so it blends in beautifully. And that's a tip. I always share that tip about thread colors. If you don't have like a huge thread stash, you know that you're matching the colors perfectly to the exact shade of whatever color fabric you're working with. A light, medium gray, a light and a medium gray work great. Like on the darker fabrics, go with the darker of the grays. And on the light fabrics, go with the light gray. And man, it just blends beautifully with pretty much any color. Okay, that looks good. Okay, let's put these pieces together. So I'm going to, it doesn't really matter which one you turn right side or wrong side out. We just need to line them up so that one is inside the other, and then whichever one can be in, the lining can be in the exterior can be in the lining, but they have to be inserted so that the pretty sides of both are touching. So I'm going to flip the lining right side out. Why not? It's right here. Now this is just habit. Like if I turn this here, like I have to press it. Like it just, I cannot help it, y'all. I have to hit it with an iron. Even though it's going to get smashed again. Where is my, here's my ironing board. Even if it's going to get smashed inside the main stocking, I don't care. Like this just bothers me. So I have to just press it real quick. So, and that way you make sure that the little curves that you cut and all that roll out really nicely. So you see that? by cutting those little snips in there. I got a nice curve. And then here we have our opening. So I will take a second at this point and put both of my thumbs inside here and just kind of tug to make that fabric roll to the inside, and you can see that it stays. And then I'll just quickly hit it with an iron so that the seam now, even though there's a hole there, it's all perfectly in line. Okay, and I can then later, once we flip the whole thing out, these creases will still be there, which I love because then it makes it easier to reline it up when you're ready to stitch it shut. So just take a second to do that. And then I'm just making sure all the fabric is rolled out from here before I hit it with that iron to kind of set it. That looks so cute. My husband said, them some big stockings. Yes, sir. The kids are getting bigger. Now you got to start stuffing these with actual stuff. Bigger things than just like putting their same toys in it and have them be all surprised as toddlers. Like, look what you got. It came right out your toy box. I'm that mom for sure. That's like, they don't even know. Okay, so lining, pretty side face out. Exterior is fleece side or fusible fleece side face out. So now I'm going to insert one in the other. So we'll take this guy and then just slip it in. And make sure that you see how I'm doing it so that the curved toe part is going to where the curved toe part is. That's what you want. If you try to jam it in the other way, obviously it's not going to lie flat in there. It's not going to fit. Okay. Enid is asking, what brand of scissors were they? Girl, these are some legit Kais, okay? These things are my favorite. They're Japanese. They just, they're amazing. They have a great weight to them. If you want to see us carry those in the shop, just let us know in the comments, because that is definitely something I can order in from my distributors to list in the online shop. They're pricey, but they're so good, and they come in so many sizes. You know, like the little snips for embroidery, the smaller shears, the bigger shears. I don't even know what these are. I think these are the 8-inch shears. They're bomb. Okay, so this is in, fits perfectly. Because we did that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on the lining, you can see that now when I go to match up this seam intersection here, it matches perfectly. So I'm going to set those up there. The exterior one with the fleece, I'm going to open that seam just to reduce some of that bulk. Let me grab a couple clips. I'm going to put one clip on that seam and another clip on this one. So I just have like the lining seam allowance going in one direction. That's just fabric, so it's not a big deal. The other one is a little bit bulkier, so we'll open that one up at the top. And, oh boy, I'm glad I stopped. I said, let me look it over, make sure I'm not missing anything. My little loop-de-loop needs to be attached. So you're going to flip it, like just fold it in half so that the two raw edges are touching here. So here it is, fold it up. Now the raw edge needs to be placed on the raw edge of the fabric. That's what you got to remember. I know visually it's like, okay, we need to insert this like this. But you don't, because if you do that and we flip the whole thing right side out, this is going to get buried inside. So you got to think backwards. We need to flip the loop so it's going in this way, all right? And the raw edges of the fabric strip need to match up with the raw edge of the fabric. Always remember that. That's what we want to sew, right? Because we want to conceal raw edges. So where I place it, if this is kind of the boot part of my stocking, I like to hang it on the back. So like this, right? That's usually where you put it. If you put it on the wrong side seam, you're going to have a loop hanging here. Not cute. If you want it on the back here, make sure that you have it oriented like I do. And we're going to insert it back here. I just slip it here, and instead of putting it like right on the side seam, I put it like on one or the other. So notice, the side seam is here. I'm just going to put it on the side of this panel, and that can just be the back. No big deal. Now, I usually, if I'm trying to insert something like this, I like to have it stick out a little bit from the edge, and that way as I'm sewing around, I don't forget about it and it slips in, or I don't catch it in my seam allowance. By keeping it sticking out further than the fabric, it's a reminder to you like, oh yeah, we need to go over this. And then it also is another reminder of like, do I need to backstitch over that a couple times to make sure it's perfect and secured? And you can do that too when you get to sewing. So where we want to insert it is not here, on the wrong side of the lining fabric. You're going to want to separate the layers between the pretty side of the exterior and the pretty side of the lining. So this is a little fidgety part that you won't know until you flip the whole thing out and you're like, where's my loop? You messed it up. Okay, so I'm going to place it here. I have it sticking out from the top edge about 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to pinch it through all the layers, because what we're sewing next is exterior to lining. So you got to sandwich your loop in between exterior and lining. so that when you sew exterior and lining together, it's caught and sandwiched in the middle. Let's move that. Let's start sewing. Now, if you have a machine that allows you to remove like the accessory case or whatever to expose the free arm, then you can go ahead and do that. And I'm going to start on this side here. Now for this, I just use like a 3/8 inch seam allowance. If I was on my other machine that like the foot on it is the perfect 1/4 inch, I would probably just use a 1/4 inch. On this one, the center needle position is 3/8. We're just going to use 3/8. That 1/8 inch is not going to make no kind of difference in sewing this together, especially here at the top when we're practically done. Okay, so my stitch length is about 2.8 just because I have the bulkiness of the fleece, which is not really bulky, but you know what I mean. This is a super light fusible batting. And I keep calling this thing fusible fleece. It's fusible batting, right? Light fusible batting. Yes. Kind of same difference, but yeah. Okay, so I just start. I don't backstitch at the beginning because since it's in the round, I need to go all the way around. So as I approach those first stitches, I just lock them together in that, at that point. So, and notice what I'm doing. I'm just rotating it. As the machine feeds, I just give it more fabric to eat up and stitch. Okay, so we're coming to where the nope, not the strip, the side intersection is first. Okay, so let me just stitch that. Got it. And then I'm coming now to where my little strip is. And you can always, when it's a little strip like this, you can always stop and kind of adjust it before you get to go right over it. But there is good. And I'm going over it now, so I'm going to stop and backstitch. And you can see this machine is a workhorse. And then just continue feeding it, obviously. I know it's important to note, you don't have to be going as fast as me. You can slow it down, but just feed the fabric as the machine is stitching and pulling it through. Okay. Okay, and then I'm back again to the beginning, so I just hit it with a couple back stitches, and then let's cut our thread. And I just like froze for a second, like, did I leave an opening in the lining? I sure did. I remembered that part. All right, so let's reach in here to where the lining is. And remember, the lining is in here in the same shape as this, but we left that opening along this back edge, so I know that's where the hole's going to be, here. So I put my hand in the hole that's in the lining. I'm going to come all the way to the bottom of the boot here of the stocking, and I'm going to grab it like this in my hand. And then I'm going to pull that part out first. So there it is. There's the opening of the lining, and then I'm going to continue pulling all this out. Okay. Vicky says she loves how I teach. Thank you. I love teaching. I like learning too. It's like that combo of like, I like to learn about, as much as I can about as much as I can. And then once I do it, I'm like, oh, I can teach that. Easy peasy. Ain't no thing. All right. That's right. Tamara says you will only make sewing that loop wrong once and then you'll know. And it's true because a lot of times with sewing, since if you look at something, you see, okay, the loop is here, the loop goes up so that I can hang it. When you first start and you're new to sewing, you're used to those visuals, like you know how it needs to be, but you don't yet have the experience and understanding of like how it needs to be assembled so that in the finished project, it ends up like what you're used to seeing. And that's just the trickiest part for beginners, I think. Like once you sew two things, wrong sides together and you ain't trying to do a French seam, you quickly are like, okay, yeah, never again. It always needs to be pretty side to pretty side. Okay, so here's the exterior. Make sure you pull everything out. You should have nice rounded edges. Again here, remember we made those clips on the exterior piece, so I don't have anything pulling there. Great. And I always like to pull everything out before I go in and shut the opening in the lining, because if you need to reach down here and smooth things out, you can do so at this point because you still have an opening. Once you stitch up that lining opening, you're not going to be able to get anything in there. So do all that now. Then remember, we just flipped everything out and kind of wrinkled it a little bit. But look, you remember those creases I made with the iron early on when we were just pressing the lining after I stitched it? Those creases are still there. So now it's so easy for me to go to the sewing machine and just stitch this up. So let's do that. And then we're going to give it a press and we are done, ladies and gentlemen. So here, I don't even need to put pins here because those creases stayed really, really nicely. And for stitching the hole shut, you can do it by hand. This is the inside of a stocking. Ain't nobody got time for that. So we are going to do 1/8 of an inch away from the edge by machine in a gray thread that's going to blend in beautifully. Back stitch there and then stitch it up super close to the edge. I'm just looking to see like where the hole ends so I know where to finish sewing at. Okay. So trim my threads. Look at that. Nobody's ever going to see it. Nobody. Beautiful. So that tip about creasing that opening when you're only at the point of the lining being by itself and sewn. Look at that. I mean, seriously? How many times have we tried to like fuss and fiddle with the, you know, lining pieces getting to tuck in and stuff like when they're in the lining like that, when they're the hole? Look at that. Beautifully straight. Yes. Okay. Now, open it up here. Stuff this in. Whoa. We're working in tight spaces over here. Like boom, boom. Elbowing my poor sewing machine. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, y'all, if you like to see my madness here while I sew for you on Wednesdays and Fridays, right here on the Crafty Channel. I don't know what's gotten into me today. I'm like so silly. Okay, so here's what's going on. As I put my hand in here and I smooth things out, you'll notice that because they're attached at the top, but they're still kind of floating one inside the other, that you can easily push down the lining too much. So I'm feeling like a little bit of extra bulk here, and I'm like, what's going on? But this is what happens. If I push the lining too far down, do you see how much of that exterior fabric you're seeing inside already? We need to pull this back out. So that's going to lengthen the stocking a little bit. You see how much? And pull this back out because I don't need that much of the lining, or excuse me, the exterior going through. So take some time here to fix the layers so that the lining, okay, so here's the one thing. You can roll out a little bit of the lining fabric if you like that little trim and then top stitch right under it. This is basically going to be the height of your seam allowance because that's where the bulk of the fleece or the fusible batting is. So if you use a fabric that you like for the lining and you want it to have just like a little quick trim, you can do that. That's not the look I'm going for. So I'm just going to tuck it in to where that lining is just inside that outer edge. See? Boom and boom. So I don't want a huge lip of the exterior fabric tucked under inside. That's cutting off my length. And then of course it's still making your the lining fabric inside baggy. We don't want that. So shake, shake, shake. And then for sure give it a press. I do go one last time around that top opening to top stitch it in place and have it be nice and flat. But you want to press it first so that those layers stay where you want them to be when you go to top stitching. So many tips, y'all. So many tips. More tips. And these are things that you won't find. Like a pattern is not really going to tell you that. You know what I mean? Like it'll walk you through the steps. But if you're a beginner and you're getting through the steps and you're thinking, well, I guess maybe that's how I'm supposed to do it, you know? That's how I like to teach, is covering the little nuanced steps that nobody mentions, that nobody says anything about, but everybody knows that we encounter them. I don't know why they don't say it, but it happens to all of us. Okay, perfect. Whoo, look at that. So now, if I look in here, my lining fabric lies a lot nicer and flatter. And look, I can still feel the fabric in here. And I use 5/8 of an inch. So, oh yeah, but that looks beautiful. Can y'all see down the rabbit hole of my stocking? Do you see how it's just like smooth, flat on both sides? Whoever you're making this for is not really going to know, but you know, it's one of those things that as you sew, you're just like, yes, perfect fit. So yes, if we use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to stitch up the exterior on the lining, bump it up to that 5/8 of an inch. You can even get away with 3/4 of an inch. It would still be legit. All right, so now I'm going to do the one last top stitching around here. And of course, like I tell my kids when I teach them, every time we sew, we press. So I'm going to top stitch around this and then we're going to press again. And for the top stitching here, because now we're going through all these layers, I am going to lengthen my top stitching stitches. You know, I like to do them at 3 millimeters at least, 3.2. So I'm going to set mine to 3. I'm going to start off on a side seam, to hide that starting and stopping point. I'll start there on a side seam. And again, I'm not going to backstitch because it's in the round. So when I work my way around, I'll just overlap those stitches by a few. And the top stitching here, it could be whatever you want. 1/8 of an inch, 3/8. I'm going with the center needle position just so I can use the edge of my presser foot as my guide along the top edge of my beautiful new stocking. Look at this. Yo, this is a super quick project. Now be careful on the side seams here because it's quite bulky, so just go a little bit slower. On this machine, I don't have no problems, but just a heads up because that is a spot where you could run into some issues on your machine. Okay, I'm coming around to the beginning stitches, so let me overlap them by a couple. Hit it with just a back stitch or two, why not? And then, oh my gosh, I'm so rough with everything. Okay. Trim your threads. Always trim your threads, but don't snip your fabric. It'd be devastating right when you get to the end, but it happens. I've done it plenty of times. Okay. And then I give the top stitching another press. What? My kids' stockings are done. It's funny because it's like I don't even feel like it's work. I'm just like chit-chatting, talking, sharing tips, and getting this stuff done. I'm done. Okay, let's move this out. Yes, Terry, that's a great idea. Terry says this would also look cute with a decorative stitch in a contrasting color. Now, sometimes I get questions from people like, I have variegated threads. I never know what to use them for. This kind of stuff, the top stitching in a variegated thread that blends or is contrast or is in contrast to the fabrics that you're, oh my gosh, seriously? Okay, let's put to the other camera, Brandon, to my face, please, so I can show off my stockings. Hello. Mira que cute, adorable stockings, okay? And if the kids want, I mean, we could throw a patch on it. I'm not gonna say embroider because I would have to take these layers apart and that ain't gonna happen. But, you know, you can just clip a little card with their name all cutesy done and then everybody knows whose is whose. No big deal. But look how cute, super cute, quick. Light fabric on the inside. This one was the one with the bunny rabbits with those different colored scarves. And then this one was that other white floral with the silvery stuff. You probably can't see it. But anyways, they're light linings. The loops are the perfect length and size. I'm super excited, and they're identical. So if you got tonight's Flash Sale Friday bundle, let me know what you're gonna make with them in the comments section below because I wanna hear it. And then of course, follow me on Instagram under Crafty Gemini. Please click the subscribe button if you're on YouTube so you don't miss out on my future video tutorials. Follow me on Facebook. I'm even on TikTok, y'all. You can find me under The Crafty Gemini, and I will be coming to you with more fun projects, demos, and flash sales. So hope to see you all next week. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern right here again on the Crafty Gemini YouTube channel and the Crafty Gemini Facebook page. Have a great weekend, happy crafting, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.